Good. So the first question is if I can have your first, your last name, and spell them both out for me.
Okay. Jennifer Soto, JenniferSoto.
Mother.
Mother.
Jennifer, tell me how you feeling right now.
I feel like I can't breathe. All I keep thinking about is, where is she? Is she safe? Is she okay? But we're all a wreck. My entire family is a mess. We're just so worried.
When did you first realize, or when did you file a missing report?
We filed a missing report. We called the police at like 4:45 yesterday, 4:45 p.m. But she actually went missing early that morning, around between 8:45 and 9 o'clock in the morning. She went missing. We had dropped her off close to the school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. Sorry. That should be it. Sorry about that.
All right, I'll go first on this one. Right out of the gate, it looks like she's got some kind of neurological disorder, which she doesn't. She's just jiggling her leg. I used to do that on here, and people would say, "What's wrong with Scott?" Because when I jiggled my leg, it looked like I was doing this, looked like I had some kind of disease. But I did, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize it until I watched me doing it. So that's what we're seeing with her, and it's good we're seeing this because as stress rises, the more that foot or that leg jiggles, and we see her start jiggling even more. So this is going to be, as we go through these videos, keep an eye on that. And remember, the more stressed she becomes, the more she jiggles her leg. And we can see her stress level go through the dang roof here at some point, in some parts. And in this one as well, we're seeing compressed lips. We're seeing all the great cues of stress that we look for and teach about. And this is a great example of that. Now, when they start calling the dog and she stops and starts smiling, this tells us so much because not only are we seeing things that we know cause stress, we're not seeing a couple of things. We're not seeing tears. We're not seeing the stress or concern we should be seeing in there. We're seeing what looks to me like fear most of the time. So you could say, oh, she's fearful. What's the matter? What's wrong with her daughter? Where is she? Is she going to be okay? All that. I don't think that's the fear she's looking for, that we're looking for at this point, or what we're seeing. So when they finally finish calling the dog and things start quietening down, she quits smiling. She automatically she resets and gets back into that fake sadness she's got on her face. She doesn't even know how to do that. And then when the question starts again, that leg jiggling starts and she starts jumping around again. So let's keep in mind as we go through this, again, I want to stress, watch this shaking because it makes all the difference in the world as far as letting you know what's happening from a perspective of stress on a human as they're going through questioning like this. And there's a reason that she's feeling that stressed. All right, Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, so same as you, interested first off, is it something about the neurology? Could it be stimming of some sort? And then we get, during her answers, very little eye contact. Her eyes go up. Again, could be something with a neurotype. It is certainly out of the ordinary in this kind of interview situation to not get direct contact, eye contact with the interviewer. So why do the eyes disappear up at this point? Again, could be neurotype, but let's see. The shaking is interesting because, as you're saying, Scott, when the dog is called, everything stops. Just everything disappears. So that makes me think, to your point, this should go up even further under stress. Around the dog, everything goes. The voice change. We heard her voice at the start giving her name and the letters involved with her name and how clear and strong the voice is. When she starts into the interview, that all disappears. So that's really interesting. It makes me think that all of this could be some kind of effect. that's being done on purpose. I mean, I don't know for sure at this point, first video in, but it does make me wonder, how are you able to be in this heightened emotional situation and then it stop immediately? Interesting. Oh, by the way, she says we had dropped her off. We had dropped her off. Let's see what happens to that. Greg, what do you got on this one?
First, guys, is a parrot. That's a parrot talking in the background. It's going, saying whatever it's heard over and over and over. The reason she knows how long it's going to last is birds are creatures of habit, and they do the same thing over and over and over. So she's waiting for the parrot to finish. Is the reason.
I thought it was one of them calling the dog.
No, it's a parrot. Parrot going, food, food.
Where did you hear about that? How do you know that?
I just know. I know birds. I've been around birds. You know, I had parrots around my house when I was younger. My ex-wife had a pet shop and all that kind of stuff, so I'm accustomed to them. And they're repetitious in what they do. So you get to the point where you can predict what they're going to do. That's my best guess, is it's a parrot in the background, and that's what's happening. So let's talk for a minute about grief, because a lot of people are going to say grief. Scott, I posted over in the chat a picture of her face in a still at 39 seconds. If that's not terror, I don't know what is. And it is not what I expect in this situation. I know people are going to say grief does weird things. Grief does do weird things. It slows your cadence typically. And the reason it slows your cadence is because your brain is running on two channels. It's running on trying to answer the question you're dealing with and thinking about what's going on. On occasion, grief will drive you to speed. It will drive you to agitated. When it does, it's for one reason. It's help, help, help. It's not protection of self. I see agitation and single focus at protection and answering the right question. That ain't healthy. That ain't good. My kid is missing. Everything she answers is very specific to that. I'm not going to go into a whole lot other than that, other than to say there are a handful of things missing. The mucous membrane's involvement is missing. She's not cried. She isn't crying. There's no inflamed nostrils. There's none of that you would associate with this. There's that look of terror, that look of when one of the questions is asked. And then if you want to pay attention to her eyes, I want you to start paying attention now, because we always talk about eye movement meaning something. When I ask you to recall something, you go to a place, whether it's visual recall or other. This is kind of dirty and doesn't have enough clarity to be able to say it's visual or what, but she's starting to establish a place she's going for information. I would poke on that a lot. I'd poke on it a whole lot. When she says, there's a lot of shifting of pronouns here, Mark, I agree with you. And she said, we had dropped her off close to the school. Now, we always talk about request for approval being forehead up. And that could mean, hey, do you get me? Are you tracking? In this case, it very clearly is, do you believe me? Because her voice lilts up at the very end and her forehead's up. This is going to be an interesting one. From here, she's got a lot of cleanup for me if I'm going to believe anything she's saying. Chase, what do you got?
Yeah, one more thing that grief does, almost without any exception, it lowers your priority of, do I need to manage how I'm being perceived by other people? It puts that way down on the priority list. And we're still seeing a lot of perception management here. And we're seeing social behavior, which might suggest that we might not be dealing with any neurotypes. We're seeing her socialize this interruption by the parrot or whatever it is. And shaking is pretty common and normal to burn off excess energy and adrenaline. We see that in a lot of people. When you see it during somebody spelling their own name, you can assume that it's maybe the baseline. And when we say baseline, it's the behavior in this situation with that person. Like Greg always says, not when you're sitting on the couch eating Cheetos, flaming hot Cheetos, either way. So she's kind of launching into a narrative and a story about what happened. And the focus of her answer is on the timeline and the details. She's having a lot of trouble making eye contact. One thing that we're definitely seeing here is the eyelids very rarely close completely. And this is an instinctive behavior. I want to keep something that's potentially threatening to me in my view. So I'm not going to close them all the way. So this is a partial closure of eyelids. And no emotions really visible here until there's the smile that we just talked about. It's a smile of self-management, self-perception, and maybe she's thinking the news is going to cut this part out. She goes right back to a sad demeanor after that smile again. And there's no mention of the daughter's name here, which is very unusual for innocent people.
This is what bothers me.
Correct. So the first question is if I can have your first and your last name and spell them both out for me.
Okay. Jennifer Soto, JENNIFERSOTO.
Mother.
Mother.
Jennifer, tell me how you feeling right now.
I feel like I can't breathe. All I keep thinking about is, where is she? Is she safe? Is she okay? But we're all a wreck. My entire family is a mess. We're just so worried.
When did you first realize, or when did you file a missing report?
We filed a missing report. We called the police at like 4:45 yesterday, 4:45 p.m. But she actually went missing early that morning, around between 8:45 and 9 o'clock in the morning. She went missing. We had dropped her off close to the school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. Sorry. That should be it. Sorry about that.
If you like this video, get the full body language breakdown and analysis on our main channel by clicking this video right here.